I was ticking all the boxes, I was performing very well, but at some point I just felt that I'm always exhausted.
What does that mean in terms of being productive?
I came across Productive Muslim at a time when burnout felt like the price of ambition.
Sometimes you might do things that might not sound productive. Pick up your phone, calling your mom, taking care of the relatives, going to attending a funeral, things which might seem not be productive, but because you're fulfilling your role on this earth, you attract this barakah factor, which makes you do more with less.
One of the things that I learned through the Productive Muslim program was it made me work with my faith rather than work around it. And also the fact that I learned how to be kind to myself. We talked about faith-based productivity in the masterclass as well as in the certification. That led me to actually create the faith-based vertical of Eira. I think the hardest part is to teach being present while you're still trying to find that sweet spot. After all these years, do you ever find yourself slipping back into hustle mode?
It's a journey. It's a journey for all of us.
One mindset, one value, one ritual from the Barakah culture. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the very first episode of the Barakah Balance Podcast with Eira. I'm Hooriya, founder of Eira, a platform that provides productivity solutions to professionals for them to reclaim their energy, focus, and time. Let me start off with a story. A young man in his 20s, juggling studies, work, and community duties, asking a question that many of us do. How do people manage it all? How do they keep themselves grounded? He went ahead, did a lot of research on various productivity books, time-hacking tools, best-selling authors, but something didn't click. There was something that was missing. And one fine day, he woke up and the word Productive Muslim popped in his head. That's when, the very same day, he went ahead, purchased the domain name, and started a blog. A few months in, no response, complete silence, no traction. He shut it down. But then, after 6 months, a 10-year-old boy emailed him asking, "Why did you stop writing?" That small message changed everything for him. He went back, set up the Productive Muslim company properly, and came back with an intent that was deeper and stronger. He just didn't want to teach productivity. He wanted to teach productivity through the lens of faith. To many, he's known as Abu Productive. To me, he's someone who made faith feel deeply relevant again. Mohammed Faris, welcome to the Barakah Balance Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was a beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair.
You're welcome. So let me start off with a very basic question. Tell us about the moment when you realized that conventional productivity needed to be reframed with the lens of faith.
I guess back to the breadcrumbs. First was the realization or the question, where does our faith talk about productivity? So after the 10-year-old boy emailed me, I came across this beautiful hadith that said, "Burika li ummat fi bukuriha." There's barakah for my ummah in the early hours. And I was, for me, like, wait, that rings a bell, because every productivity book I was reading till that moment says, wake up early, wake up early, wake up early. I'm like, well, maybe they're just tapping into this whole barakah thing. So that was the first breadcrumb, recognizing that, well, maybe there is things in our faith that talks about productivity. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I wasn't hearing that language. I was not hearing it in the mosques, in halaqas, like where is this whole science of productivity? Where does it fit? And I struggle with that. However, over the years, when I started doing the training and the workshops, and initially my initial workshops were very conventional productivity, right? Time blocking, focus management. But my publisher actually for the first book really challenged me when I wrote the first draft of The Productive Muslim. He goes, Mohammed, okay, a book is good, but what does Islam have to say about productivity? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a scholar. Like, I have no idea. He goes, think about it. Like, what is the angle that you can bring in that really shows how Islam is the last divine message to mankind can offer something unique here? And that's when this idea of barakah started to appear. And it's only a few years later when I got to the point where I'm like trying to rethink, like if I were to ground this science of productivity in a worldview, and kind of that's when I started learning about the idea of worldviews, right? We all have different lenses and goggles, right? If I see the world through the lens of I am a slave of God, I'm here for a temporary period of time, and I'm going to meet Him, and I have guidance that was sent to me. What does that mean in terms of being productive? How would that redefine productivity? So just putting on that lens brought in a whole different perspective. And I started realizing that, yes, there is the energy, the focus in time, and how do you manage yourself, and the calendar, and the to-dos. But there's something deeper.
Yeah.
There is an idea of barakah. There is the idea of the gardener mindset. There is the idea of sometimes you might do things that might not sound productive, right? Pick up your phone, calling your mom, right?
Yeah.
Taking care of the relatives, attending a funeral, doing your rights and responsibilities, things which might seem not be productive, but because you're fulfilling your role on this earth, you attract this barakah factor, which makes you do more with less. And I think that sort of transition, that took time. It was not a one-day discovery. It was a journey of 10 plus years that kind of slowly but surely kind of unraveling and kind of like almost like peeling the onions, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out like there's something here deeper, something I'm still discovering, I'm still learning, alhamdulillah.
Okay. I love the fact that it didn't start with the plan, but it started with the question that you were sitting with. And I think that's very interesting. So tell me something. Were you at some point in your life unproductive?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How would you define?
I was a guy who was playing 16 hours straight, Metal Gear Solid, video games.
Really?
I was a guy who I was unproductive in the sense of didn't know how to make use of my time.
Okay.
I felt very overwhelmed very quickly. University was great training ground for me because A, I didn't have my video game with me, and I couldn't afford to buy one. That's the reason. And 2, I had no money, so I had to work 2 jobs. 3, I got involved with Islamic societies, with kind of like the Muslim students sort of groups, so that kind of got me busy. Plus, I had my studies. So just being busy kind of made me realize, wait a second, I can't manage myself. I'm struggling here.
Yeah.
I can't wake up early enough. I have sleep issues. There's just so many things. Something felt off, right? And my flatmate, he said something once that made me was a light bulb moment. He goes, if you have a problem in your life, someone wrote a book about it. Like, well, I'm having a problem with productivity. I'm having a problem I didn't call productivity down, just having a problem about managing my time, getting things done. That's when I stumbled upon the sort of getting things done, the 7 habits, all the usual productivity stuff. And I tried it. Hey, this stuff works.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated, like, wow, like I'm actually getting things done. I'm actually moving forward. People start commenting, hey, Mohammed, like, how do you balance it all? How do you do it all?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, there's this thing called productivity that I kind of discovered, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think that's that transition. So I credit my university years to that transition from being, I guess, a couch potato, maybe you call it that way, to someone who started realizing. The second thing, I think there's an element of responsibility that picks up. I think, when you live, I guess sometimes we live, alhamdulillah, we grew up in a middle class income family.
Yeah.
You're provided for, we don't struggle to earn. Everything's on a silver plate. You go to school, come back home, you do your homework, like the usual stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes because of that, you live in a bubble and you don't realize that life is not a bubble and you have to go and work hard. You have to go and manage yourself and no one's going to come and give you your homework and get it done today. Just that responsibility factor has just, I think that triggered this change for sure.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So I guess my question to you now is what is your moment of reckoning and recognizing, kind of even questioning this idea of productivity in your life?
Well, in all honesty, I came across Productive Muslim at a time when burnout felt like the price of ambition. I was ticking all the boxes. I was performing very well. I was excelling at my career, alhamdulillah, and I'm still very well on that. But at some point, I just felt that I'm always exhausted. I'm always drained. I'm always running and rushing after time. And no matter how much I get done in a day, there's that feeling that I have that there's something that's still missing. There is an empty feeling, you know. And I was just on autopilot all the time, ticking all the boxes. And I thought that productivity meant getting as much as you can get done within a day, within a window. And to be fair, the belief doesn't come from nowhere. Our backgrounds, our culture, the environment that we're shaped by often ties success to being busy or always performing. So you start to believe that being a hustler is a badge of honor. If you're not overperforming, you're not doing enough. You know, you're not successful. You're not earning well. You're not making your family proud. You're not making yourself proud, right? So I'd be physically present at the dinner table with family. I'd be around friends, but mentally I would be still thinking about work. So at one point I was like, that's not normal. That's not healthy, you know? So it took me some time to realize that me not being fully present when I'm around family, friends, or even when I was praying, because I was just ticking the boxes. It was a task for me. Everything was a task. The hardest part was that I didn't know where to go with all of that. I had no guidance. Of course, you have family, you have friends who are always there to support you, right? There's no question about that. But that void or that emptiness that I wasn't able to fill, and I just wasn't able to figure that out. And around that time, I paused and I asked myself, is this even sustainable? And is this really what productivity means? Do I really want to continue living like this? Because I wasn't really living, I was just on survival mode. And is this the right way to measure success? Is this what success is about? That, you know, you're usually not around your family, you're either late or you're too busy, and whenever you're around them, you're always thinking about work. Or if it's not work, then it's a personal obligation. So it didn't feel healthy, and it may sound silly. I just went ahead one day on Google and searched for Islamic productivity, faith-based productivity, and fortunately, the book Productive Muslim came up in the search results. So I purchased it, I read it, and then I was like, okay, maybe there's something more that I need to look up. And I came across the certification program. And when I applied, I was rejected.
Yeah.
And I followed up with the team. And they kept on telling me that, Hooriya, you haven't even done the masterclass. It's going to be too much on you. And our organization, we're very careful about how much burden we put on people. And Mohammed has already done the onboarding class. So we won't be able to take you in. I was like, can you please speak to him? Borderline harassing, your team. And I remember it took me, I think
2 weeks or something.
Yeah. I was sending Khadija and Lena emails after every 2 days. I was like, listen, this is real. I really need this. Could you please help me? I really need this. And then alhamdulillah, you finally, you weren't heartless. So you accepted. And again, that delay, when I go back and when I think about it, it's a part of qadr, right? Alhamdulillah, I came across the link to the certification and I signed up. That part where we talked about faith-based productivity in the masterclass as well as in the certification, that led me to actually create the faith-based vertical of Eira. I was already planning to transition, and I was initially thinking of, setting up a stationery store. Please do not...
Hey, I love stationaries.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of stationaries, yeah.
But then, for me, when I came across the book, when I came across the program, and I was like, okay, maybe this is something that I could also do. And that planted the seed for the faith-based vertical of Eira. And coincidentally, Eira in Swedish Norse actually means healing and mercy. And one of the things that I learned through the Productive Muslim program was the fact that it made me work with my faith rather than work around it. And also the fact that I learned how to be kind to myself.
Yeah. Yep. Love and discipline.
Yeah.
Question for you maybe, why did you choose, what made you kind of fall back on your faith? Like, you're burning out. Most people, when they burn out, they go to like mindfulness retreats, or they go to, I don't know. Like, what made you think, oh, let me search for the answer in my faith? Because most people don't default to that. Most people would look at elsewhere. They would not think that, we think Islam is very ritualistic about just getting, praying, doing tasks, versus actually, maybe there's an answer here that I'm not aware of.
So as a child, in terms of my personality, I was always pessimistic. And for some reason, since the beginning, since 12, I do remember that I've always clinged onto prayers. That's one thing. Whether I was regular or not, that's one thing, but I always had a strong connection with faith. And that's something that was there off and on. But as time passed by, I think alongside my autopilot routine, praying became a habit. It was a tick-the-box routine. But there were a few instances in my life where I had missed certain events in my life where I was supposed to be present, and I wasn't there. And there were certain interactions that I had with people who were very close to me, who misunderstood Islam and then indirectly misunderstood me as well. And I think it made me delve into faith deeper from the perspective of, look, I can't claim to be associated with a certain religion if I'm not able to provide the correct answers. And I can't provide the correct answers if I don't have full knowledge about it. I can't rely on culture. And that's the biggest misunderstanding that people have about religion. And primarily, you need to first believe in what you're talking about and then speak about the religion rather than just giving a rote-learned answer. So it was more in the context of me becoming more self-aware in the sense of be present, see what peace means to you, and also be more connected with the religion when it comes to explaining what it means to you to others. Because, and again, this is something that we do in the legal profession. If you're not able to explain a concept to a 5-year-old, you don't know your work, right? So that's the thing. So it was more of a personal journey. And I think the turning point for me was, and it's really funny, I was scrolling through Instagram. I was looking for something and I came across an influencer who used to wake up for tahajjud. And I was like, maybe I can try do that. Maybe I learned that. And I think waking up for tahajjud, which is still something that's inconsistent, gave me that early morning peace. That peace, the moment in the morning, that peace that I was looking for, it was after the time of tahajjud. And I think that what really, really developed.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So hustle has become such a badge of honor, but at the cost of detachment from ourselves, from our values, and even our connection with Allah. So what has been the most significant change in you when you chose barakah over hustle?
I think I'll say the same thing you mentioned, that idea of presence, right? Being present and not being attached to the outcomes. With Barakah culture, talk about the idea of the gardener mindset. The idea that you plant a seed, you work hard, you put blood, sweat, and tears trying to make something grow, but you're not attached to results. You're not upset when things work your way, and you're not also overjoyed or attached success to yourself when things do go your way. It's this idea of whatever is good is from Allah Ta'ala, whatever is not good is my own shortcomings, and I proceed, I keep on gardening, keep on planting and working hard. That really helped to detach. And not detach in the sense of complete detachment, but in the sense of not being so obsessed with results. Hustle culture is about obsessed with results, obsessed with outcomes. Yeah. If you fail, that means you are a loser, right? If you fail, that means you're not good enough. If you fail, that means you're not professional. All that stuff. Versus Barakah culture says, no, you work hard, set the intentions, work hard, put in the effort. If you fail, learn from that, go back, start again. If the door's completely shut, okay, there's something else Allah's planning for you. And it's just a healthy way. So when you shift to that mindset within business, whether in family, within work, it makes you more present in the moment and always thinking, well, what does Allah want to teach me this moment in time? I'm not obsessed with the result. I plan the day. If things work according to plan, alhamdulillah. If things don't work according to plan, alhamdulillah. Like, it's just so much more relaxing and more peaceful, more present. And I feel like sometimes, except back to the idea of peace, we miss that.
Yeah.
You know, we want to succeed. I'm not saying don't be ambitious. I'm not saying don't aim for success and going for great things. But just don't make that image of success almost your God and try to worship that instead of worshiping your true God and seeing where He puts you. I think that's where the challenge is. And for most professionals, for all our lives, we grew up with this idea of carrot and sticks, right? You have work hard and here's your reward. And if you fail, that means it's back to you because you're lazy, you're unproductive. There's something, if you can say, you know what, I worked hard, I did my best, but the outcome was just, there's something else, there's khair in this, there's goodness in this, beyond me. I think that's a healthy way of thinking about it.
Okay, and that brings me to my next question, just because, again, and this is just a general comment that we usually hear that, you know, within the Muslim community, Muslims are considered to be lazy. The word inshallah is a joke nowadays, right? Because the idea is that whenever you want to be lazy or not do something, you use the word inshallah. So where do faith and performance intersect, and where do they clash? Do you feel, and I know you've mentioned that you're not telling people to be lazy. That's not what the Barakah culture teaches you to do. But how do you explain a mindset that is based on, that is God-centric, not results-driven, but process-driven, yet you want to survive in this competitive environment, right? How do you balance that? Do you see a clash? Because that's something for me as somebody who's still, I'm still in that hustle mode, right? It's a journey for me. I'm still transitioning. While I talk about balancing and setting up Eira, I'm still hustling and guilty as charged, right? So where do we draw the line?
See, it's again defining what does it mean to be productive, right? So it's like, I need to manage my energy, my focus, and my time across all my roles, not just work. The problem with hustle culture, it made work the religion. I'm here to worship work. My work defines my mindsets, my values, and my rituals. Work is a centerpiece of my identity. And there's something off there, because then you're literally worshiping work versus worshiping God. And what I'm saying to you, yes, work is part of life. Yes, we are required to work. Yes, we're required to earn a halal income for our family. Yes, we're required to do our best. But it's part of life. And there are other responsibilities you have as well. So from a productivity perspective, the Barakah culture says, manage your energy, your focus and time across all your roles. So look at all the different roles you play, especially roles that we often neglect, our family, our health, our relationship to God. So how do you balance across all those, work on those, across all those roles? Now, if you're fulfilling what we call the haqq, the rights of those roles, then of course, and you have time, excel at work, go with your work. Now, with work itself, how can you make that work more about even a form of worship that is for His sake? For example, I talk about the software engineer who loves to code. He goes, Mohammed, how can I make coding worship? Like, I just code. So, okay, which of the names of Allah you love the most? He goes, I love the name Al-Jameel, Allah the most beautiful.
Yeah.
Great. Is there such thing as beautiful code? He goes, yeah. His eyes lit up. So now when he's coding, he's not just coding. He's almost like manifesting Allah's name in the work they're doing. And that's when the work becomes worship. Yeah. It's not just about, okay, I'm going to go clocking, I'm going to be competing, I'm going to hustle, it's saying, it's almost like even the mindset you bring to work, the values you bring to work, the rituals you bring to work. So I run a business, right? And sometimes you run a business, of course, you have values you have to think about. You know, you have things like honesty, things like mercy, things like gentleness, things like just being aware. Rituals like praying istikhara, shura, right? Mindsets like abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. So even though you're engaged in work, you're busy, you're engaging, you're calling, you're meeting, but while you're operating, there's almost like a different operating system versus the hustle culture, which is honestly cutthroat. which is heartless, egocentric. There's no, the idea of the word God is almost like is a taboo.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Like, why we feel so? I mean, we are spiritual beings first and foremost. We're not machines.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, hustle culture tries to turn us into machines because
Yeah.
they want to squeeze every drop of blood, sweat, and tear out of you, and then throws you back at retirement or throws you back to your family, and you're like, you're not even there. You're dead.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
complete. Versus, no, I work, I engage, and then to the point in inshallah. Now, there's two parts here.
Yeah.
One is that how hustle culture kind of drains us, but then there is a responsibility on us as Muslims. I feel like sometimes, unfortunately, like you said, like inshallah is a good example, where we abuse, right, certain terminologies. We abuse
Yeah.
concepts in our faith and use that as almost like, and basically attract all the, whenever a non-Muslim comes, oh, don't give me inshallah. I'm like,
Yeah.
excuse me, sorry. I actually will say inshallah because I mean inshallah. I mean, if God wills, because I mean it. I'm not saying inshallah is never going to happen.
Yeah.
So I feel like as Muslims, we also take responsibility and ownership of how we approach life, how we approach our work, how we show up. I always talk about the Muslim brand in the workplace. If I tell you German worker, what comes to mind?
Strict, punctual,
Okay, Japanese worker.
very strict, very punctual.
Okay, Swiss or,
Punctual, direct, no filter.
Okay, Muslim worker.
Which Muslim worker?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to mention countries. I don't want to put people on ethnicities, but in general, the
Yeah.
Muslim brand,
Yeah.
right? Where's the Muslim brand in the workplace? And I speak for Muslims in the West, for example,
Yeah.
right? For example, there's a story. I'm not sure it's true. I mean, someone told me it's true. They say that one of the large automotive companies in the US, when he wanted to build his factories, he was saying, "Who are the most honest people?" And they all said the Muslims. And he actually imported large portions of Muslims from a certain country. I don't mention the names of the countries. And he imported them, and because he brought them to the US to work in his factory because they were the most honest. There was a brand, right? And I feel like as Muslim, what is our brand when it comes to the professional sphere? We've imported the Western model of professionalism,
Yeah.
the Japanese model, the Asian model, the European model. Where's the Muslim model of professionalism? What does that look like?
Yeah.
How it's very holistic, it's very spiritual, but also it's active. It's not passive. It's not just sitting and expecting miracles to happen.
Yeah.
It's productive. It's hard. And we've seen the golden age of Islamic civilization. People were productive. They
Yeah.
worked hard, but they also kept their prayers on time. They also had manners. They also had adab. They also had those mindsets, those values. I think that's sort of brand we need to bring to life, and that can be transformative, inshallah.
Wow. We all connect with faith at different levels. And I know for me, for a fact, this program, the Productive Muslim program, felt very inclusive for a person like me who doesn't wear a hijab. Do you think that for this program, you need to still be at a certain level in your journey to even take up the course or take that step?
No, alhamdulillah, again, the topic of productivity is a very neutral topic, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was in South Africa once, I was doing a workshop. And someone came up to me later, goes, Mohammed, you have the full range of Muslims here. From the super strict to the super, call them liberal, whatever you call them, right? Like you have the full range, and that's very rare. Because most people will identify with a certain group or certain, thinkings,
Correct,
perspective,
yeah.
and they'll just stick to that. But I'll say we all struggle with productivity. All of us struggle with our energy, our focus, our time. All of us are distracted. All of us are struggling with our sleep. All of us struggle with nutrition, our habits, routines. So what this program does, it offers the solutions wherever you are in your journey. Can you see that this can help you? The only thing required me to ask is two things. Number one is to be accepting to the idea of faith-based productivity. Some people struggle with that, to accept that. What does faith have to do with productivity? Also, be curious. Come in with an open mind and see the linkage between productivity and spirituality. The second one is the desire to change. If you have the desire to change, that's all we ask for. Even also version 1.1.
Yeah.
Not version 10. Don't think it'll be the best, awesome person. Version 1.1. What's that version 1.1 of me if I join this program? If you have these two things, that you're open, curious to learning about spirituality and productivity, and you're not completely averse to the topic, and two, if you are able to connect, if you're able to wanting the desire to change, then you're a good fit for the program. We had a retreat once in Indonesia, and we had a lady who joined, And day one of the retreat, now ours is called the Productive Muslim Retreat, right? And she joined and she goes, first day of the retreat, goes, I don't pray. I don't believe in prayers. I think God doesn't need our prayers. So I don't think I should pray 5 times a day. So I'm like, cool. So we're here in this program. It's a Productive Muslim program.
Yeah.
Join us. You're at 5 times a day since you're here anyway. She's okay, cool. She just said this part of the retreat experience, part of activities in the retreat. By the end of the week, she was crying. She goes, I have to pray. I need to pray. I'm like, what happened? No one told her, give a lecture. No one told her, no, you have to pray. She said, this was the anchor missing in my life. And sometimes we just need to experience it. Barakah culture is very experiential. Like right now, maybe some of this concept we're talking about, it was like, what are these guys talking about? Right? Just like, this sounds too woo-foo, nice, Gardner mindset, intentional.
Yeah.
But once you experience it, you're like, wait a second, this stuff works. Once you experience tahajjud, once you experience prayer, once you experience not centering your life on work, but centering your life on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and organizing and reorganizing your life around that, once you experience that peace and that barakah, you're like, this is priceless. This is worth, now I get it, right? So that's why I tell people, if you have the desire to change and the willingness to explore this, you'll find this program, inshallah, beneficial, inshallah.
That's great, mashallah. So we all know that you're not a scholar and you've never claimed to be one. And back then when you started off with your research and educating people and training people, you were not even married. And I remember in one of our introductory classes, you mentioned that, people used to tell you, Mohammed, you're not a scholar. Yeah, like
come tell us about productivity after you get married and have kids.
Yeah, then when you got married, they're like, you don't have kids. Go get married and have kids and then come to us. And then at one point, people also questioned you that why is this guy talking about faith when he's not even a scholar? So how did you take that reaction? What did you do to ensure that you keep on doing what you wanted to do? How did you continue your journey? Did you ever think back and decide that, okay, maybe I should just stop. This is just too much.
There's this Arabic term which I like. It says jur'a or jahl. Jur'a is when someone who's someone like who'll just jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this thing called I call jur'a. Jur'a is risk taking and being bold.
Yeah.
And jahl and ignorance.
Yeah.
Right. And those two sometimes can be a deadly combination, right? When you're young, you're like, I can write a book. I can do a blog. And you're like, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
But sometimes that sort of either being naive kind of makes you plunder through. And that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guiding through the process. So I always say it's not to do with me being smart or me being, it's like something, let me see how this goes.
Yeah.
I think being curious helps a lot. Also, just having a supportive community, right? I mean, I know some people were very upset the fact that we, launching a training program and charging for it.
Yeah.
And, I got a lot of hate mails, that I keep for reference sometimes. That's just part of the journey, part of the process.
Yeah.
But I ask scholars about the work that I do, and I sat with them like, listen, this is what I'm doing. I'm looking at verses of the Quran. I'm interpreting them from perspective of productivity. I'm looking at hadith. I'm making linkage with productivity. And they're like, keep going. This is what you're teaching is practical spirituality. This is important. As long as you're not claiming to be a scholar, as long as you're not trying to come up with concepts which are outside the orthodoxy, there's nothing wrong. In fact, we need this. This is a healthy way of taking some of the work of our scholars and translating it to the masses. So I felt myself more of a translator, and more of someone who's I'm taking concepts we already have. Right? Barakah is not new, right? Barakah has always been there. It's just how you package and repackage. I think each of us brings our own life experiences, our own perspectives, and we can connect with people in ways that someone who's a very learned scholar, it's difficult for them to connect. Not out of disrespect, not out of lowering their stature. With all respect, somebody's just not able to connect. I remember once I was sitting in a halaqah with a scholar. He was talking about backbiting and talking about humility. So I asked the question, how do you handle in a corporate environment where sometimes you have to there's a bit of back office politics, and then there is also trying to kind of show off your work. And he struggled to answer that question because he never had corporate experience, right? But someone who has corporate experience with some knowledge is able to respond to that question in a way that connects. So I feel like there is that element of not either or. Alhamdulillah, the beautiful thing about our deen is we're taught to think, to reflect, to ponder, and to share, right? And while being humble and recognize if we make mistakes, we say, hey, that's a mistake. I shouldn't, there's something, I know if I made a claim, I should come back and not be arrogant about it. Because sometimes it's very easy, especially nowadays with, with social media, to get carried away as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm an author, right? Who are you to question me, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Versus actually, no, I need to revise this part. This part needs to change. And that's why with the certification I was really happy, because I was getting feedback,
Yeah.
right? That actually this part works, this part doesn't work, or Hamad, this part a bit too much. Even for people, maybe it's too hard on people. Getting that sort of feedback and being okay to change your mind versus being so almost like dogma, this my way, the highway. It's so important to us to kind of reflect on that and not to get carried away as well.
Yeah, I think for me, what I still struggle with is the concept of slave. It's just because we've been, and I understand, I get it, but sometimes for me to be able to express that in a way that it comes out naturally, it's so difficult. And I hope one day I'm able to.
The one I
overcome
think
that.
recently I reframed it as, if I were to give you a gift, right?
Yeah.
There's also a sense of indebtedness.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not called for. One day to send you a random gift, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's nice. And you always feel a sense of indebtedness. You'll always, there's a sense in Now imagine if I overwhelm you with gifts.
Yeah.
It feels so indebted, right?
Yeah.
And I feel this idea with our relationship to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, where He not only gives gifts, but overwhelmed us with gifts. That our only response is to give our whole life to Him. I think that's the kind of relationship
Yeah.
here. So it's not a relationship of some think of slavery relationship almost like power and putting someone down, right?
Yeah.
Which is deservedly we should, if we forgot, right? So I think sometimes the idea of slavery, that's part of almost our ego. I remember I was talking to a gangster he became Muslim. And
Gangster.
A proper gangster, like literally, like the guy used to go around doing stuff in the streets. And he's like, I told him, what was the hardest part being a Muslim? He goes, doing sujood.
Oh.
He goes,
Okay.
me putting my head on the ground? Like, he struggled with that.
Yeah.
I couldn't put my head on the ground because he was the tough guy.
Yeah.
So sometimes, subhanAllah, this comes to kind of this idea of breaking ourselves a little bit sometimes, getting that point of putting ourselves down for the Lord of the worlds. I mean, when we understand who He is, we'll naturally put ourselves on the ground. But sometimes we need to overcome that ourselves and inshallah ta'ala submit and be part of it.
Inshallah, one day for me, one day. Maybe the way to phrase it for me is, would you rather be a slave of your job or something else, right?
There you
Maybe
go.
that's one way to put it. So one last question, and then we're going to move to a rapid fire round. After all these years, do you ever find yourself slipping back into hustle mode?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's very easy to slip back hustle mode because you have, again, pressures, right? I've got 3 kids, family, responsibilities, run a business. You get caught, like it's very easy. But the good thing is we're blessed with just the rituals, right? The 5 daily prayers, Ramadan, Umrah. These things help to reset you. Plus an amazing team that kind of they challenge. Hey, this is a bit too much. This is kind of hustle mode. And 3, just again, these concepts we're teaching.
Yeah.
That's why I enjoy reteaching them because they're reminders for myself.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to slip hustle mode because it makes sense. It's very logical, but at the same time, it requires it. Now, less so over time. I think as you maybe like today, something happened today, which I was like, normally I would have like panicked.
Yeah.
I was like, I was completely chilled. And I was like, that's weird. Like that's a new feeling. Usually the same situation happened like a few months ago. I'd have like been stressed out about it.
Yeah.
But the same thing now, alhamdulillah, I'm feeling calm. I'm feeling real fiha khair. So I'm like, maybe I'm getting there. Maybe I'm getting there. It's a journey. It's a journey for all of us.
Yeah, I still struggle a lot, and I think the hardest part is to teach being present while you're still trying to find that sweet spot. And I guess you're never going to find that sweet spot. And that's why we call it, or at least that's the takeaway that that's what I've learned, and that's what I intend to pass through Eira, is that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's not a permanent fix. It's basically a reframe.
Yes.
Like, if you fall back, if you fall off the wagon, you know how to get back.
Yes.
On.
You have
And
the toolkit. You have the toolkit, you have the roadmap, and it's doable. That reset is doable. So it's such a blessing to be able to have that way to jump back on, alhamdulillah.
Yeah. So much wisdom in what you've shared today. Thank you. I'm going to switch gears now and let's end the episode with rapid fire questions.
Bismillah.
One ayah or dua that centers you.
Ooh, this last ayah of Surah Ankabut. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Those who strive in our way will surely guide them our ways. And Allah allows those who do good, inshallah.
One sunnah you follow for productivity.
Ooh, definitely the morning adhkar. I feel that really centers you, kind of resets you for sure.
Yeah, I think for me is the Doha prayers. I don't know why there is so much attraction for some reason. What's one thing that you're still learning to navigate, personally or professionally?
Staying calm in the middle of a storm. It's like I think there's always, whether it's, like storming, like there's a lot of happening around you, and you have to really stay calm, like stay centered. I think I'm learning that.
One mindset, one value, one ritual from the Barakah culture.
Abundance mindset, honesty, and I think istikhara.
Amazing, amazing. If there's one thing that you would like people to remember from this episode, what would it be?
Is have sincere intentions and work hard.
Faris, thank you not just for being here today, but for the work that you've done that's shaped so many of us, including me. This conversation felt very grounding and deeply needed. And to those who are listening, I hope something in this episode gave you permission to pause, reflect, and maybe even reset. That's what this space is really about. Thank you again, Faris, and thank you to everyone listening. Do subscribe to the Barakah Balance Podcast. Until we meet next time, reflect, reset, and rise with Barakah.